Well, hello there, everybody. How y'all doing? Little Motown. I'll tell you what, cannot get enough of it. It has well, y'all know, it has a very groovy beat sound to it, and I enjoyed growing up to it. So, hello, everybody. It's Friday, and I swear it feels like we just did Friday, like yesterday. But they tell us in this reality it has been, a week. So here we are, another week. And as I hit that button and I see myself right there, I know all is well in the world. I always love that time travel. Steiger, you're looking good. Hey, so y'all looking good. Happy you be here. Thank you. Know you got other places to go and you can do other things, but hey, you choose to hang out here, and it's an honor, and I appreciate it. A lot of groovy people here. That's all I got to say. Hello, Nina. How are you doing? Nina's going to have Jeffrey on here. Said the other day. That's really cool. Check her out on the Sunday there. But first, before I go any further, let me just speak favor. But it never becomes rote. It's meaningful. Speaking favor over us all. You can't go bad with that. So how could someone say, "Well, that's a bad thing"? Nope. And as we like to say, nothing missing, nothing broken, because that is peace. World could use a little bit of that. This reality could use a lot of it. But any case, and if the world could find that spot where nothing's missing, nothing broken, I guess that would be what? Valhalla, Shangri-La, heaven. I don't know. Elysium, whatever it may be. Although philosophically, I don't think perfection exists. We don't want it to exist because if perfection does exist, and let's say some being ever got there and found perfection, what then? I mean, that's part of the whole wonderful thing about imperfection. The quest, the desire, the sacrifice, the etc. to find perfection. It's ever elusive, and we are ever forth chasing it. But what an adventure getting there. So anyway, each has their own different ones, and all opinions are welcome. Just don't be rude. Not this group. Had to actually put someone out and said, this is not the right place for you. They didn't get it. Being kind to your mind means being kind to all minds. So there we go. Hello, Gaia. Hello, how are you? Still getting used to this. Deborah, good to see you. Lost in space. Hello, Francis. Lucky Stone, how are you? Boy, lots of people in here. Kind of fun. Missed y'all yesterday. Had to travel a long ways, but it was a-okay. Yeah. Lots of things when you're seeing people out there. It allows you, as many of you do daily, wow, things are changing. Yeah. Joyce Marie, what's up? Good to see you as well. Felix, hello, what's up? Good to see you. Who else? DC, appreciate that. Appreciate that. Is that Craven? Did I get that right? Getting there in the smallest print. It's like, can you read this 4 point? It's like, well, almost. Loretta says, I'm not sure how to answer that question. It's a good question. Something's happening. AI has been trained on a lot of data and can bring up facts much faster than I can. Seems to find things I can't. It has knowledge of psychology. So, yeah. Indeed. We're going to get more into that. Mary Wins, much love to you, darling. Hello, Emperor Rex. Good to see you. As I always like to see everyone. Susan, how are you? Good to see you. Truth Co-op, Diane. Much love, darling. Good to see you as well. So good to see you. This kind of like, hanging out on Fridays. Back in the day, they used to have coffee shops. It's where you could hear, typically, some gal would be up there playing, folk guitar. Um, and, it was just that vibe, jazzing up on coffee, you know, talking philosophy, talking politics, ideologies, but doing it in such a manner that, you don't get enraged. You just like lay back. Of course, smoking the joint probably added a little bit to that, but that's just my opinion. Hello, John and Elderberry. Good to see you as well. And as I scroll down here, and if I've missed you, well, thank you, thank you, thank you for your Paul Joe. Good to see you. And anyway, um, is that Blue Creek? Good to see you as well. So many different. So we're really going to get into this. Yeah, I was out yesterday, and wow, there is there is this prevailing reality that is desperately trying to manifest itself. And the tendrils of its thoughts permeate everything. And if you walk in this realm fully understanding that you're just a spirit being, and, technically you're really observing and experiencing at the same time, that's what makes us gods, regardless of what the others try to say. Um, and for whatever reason, we're here. You know, listen, as crappy as it's been at times, it's been exhilarating other times. So, I do find that natural law seems to want to find balance just naturally. It requires an exerted force or inertia to prevent that natural balance occurring. Maybe that's what duality is all about. Hello, Susie Q. Much love to you, darling. Gilbert, if you're listening, speaking healing over you. And Rick, how about her? How are you doing as well? And all the rest of us, you know, healing. That's the other thing in this realm is that these bodies, I believe, were at one time immortal. It's a different way of looking at it. I mean, you think about how you manifested into this realm. Look at yourself in the mirror or camera, and you see that reflection, and you hear the voice, you hear the thought, and, you know, within it, there is a defined spirit. They say soul, okay. Um, but how does it look? I find it interesting in the paranormal that so many ghosts look like they did when they were here. If you were young here, you seem to be young over there. If you were old here, you seem to be old. Don't know if that's quite true. It may be just that transition. Who knows? But when you see this reality that is unfolding, wow, it's like it's truly we're watching a Francis Bacon production of Shakespeare, right? And the cast and characters are ever coming in stage off stage. And the background tapestry seems to be a kaleidoscope. And nothing is really real but the players themselves. The whole environment is ever changing. It's being manifested by the one who is directing. And if you're a director of a play or of a movie, you have the producers who basically carry out the director's orders, and the producers go out and then it spreads out, and thus you have a product. Um, Back in my video days, directed and produced a few video programs myself, and it's quite it's that's what this reality is. It's so many elements manifesting themselves. And when it comes to Homo sapiens sapiens, I'm not saying this, the anthropologists are saying it, you know, sociologists, um, the field of psychiatry. There is something happening to the genus of our species. Something's changing. And the change is coming from within. And that's when you know that it's authentic change. It's not so much manifesting out here. And so as Homo sapiens sapiens, um, we're being altered by something other than, you know, us. Maybe it is a natural process in the process of evolution, of evolving, is that you change from within first, and then that begins to manifest and out. I mean, it's just a thought, but we're changing, no doubt about it. And the thing about it is, we've done this ourselves. This thing that we now live in, what we call reality, it's warped. I mean, it truly is. I've never encountered more angry people. I mean, holy crap. I mean, people are like the razor thin. And I don't know if it's a natural or if it's an artificial. It seems like someone just continues to turn up the amp. But people are so much on edge. Um, I think that if you just took 1 hour and just watched what the mainstream gods try to put the reality in, this is a pretty scary freaking place. I mean, it really is. People are losing their minds. They make no sense. They lie. They deliberately deceive, and this is easy to them as it is breathing. And we live now in a reality of this thing called the internet, and it's taken us over. We as a species have become literally addicted to it. And this is either, depending on your position, it's either aiding in our evolution, or it's taking away from our ability to evolve. Two sides of the debate. What we do know is that this goes just beyond this thing called technology. Again, I just want to give thanks to Dr. Lynn. What a phenomenal discussion. I mean, I learned that I felt like I was in a complete, lecture forum. Uh, Walked away with a wealth of information that aided in the continued evolution of what I'm here to do. But getting back to this fundamental change within our species, I believe it's happening to our DNA. I believe even as I speak, whether it's through the effect of a weakening magneto uh, pause, shields are coming down, cosmic rays coming in. Is it awakening us? Is it driving us crazy? Um, what started out as basically supposed to be the Jetsons has ended up becoming a Pandora box for us. Speaking of technology, and kind of the question I asked, I said, do you think that technology is aiding or taking away from our ability to evolve? And when you look at technology, it was promised that it was going to be God. It was going to take disease away. It would make labor a thing of the past. Every person would have their own home, and it would be energy neutral. The technology would be there ever to assist us, and that this would allow us as a species to begin to expand our minds, our consciousness, not having to worry about the day-to-day needs of survival. And it hasn't happened that way. Gene Roddenberry tried to bring that out in Star Trek, that you would have this Starfleet um, conglomeration of other intelligent beings, many different shapes. Gene was really good at that. I think he was a time traveler. And maybe that is a future. But, in that reality, there was no need for wealth. There was no need for competition of resources. We found out that, we weren't the only ones in this universe. And once we learned to escape the net, we found out that it was wild, good, bad. But in any case, haven't gotten there. The technology, it seems to be more Orwellian. Maybe old George had it right, that the technology has been used to enslave us. And the evidence of that is by the current, if you read just the headlines, the stories in different publications, we're in deep shit, folks. And we come in here and we like to talk the fact that, well, most of us, feel that we at least have some enlightenment, have a different point of view, but we're still immersed into this thing. We're still in, this is like a stew. You may not be the carrot, but you're still in the stew. And I want to bring out just a few little articles here that I think you might find, how shall we say, interesting in bringing out the point as he goes there. So this is Forbes magazine. It says in the headline of the story, being addicted to generative AI. Mm. I find it mind-boggling that the average phone now costs nearly $3,000. Who'd ever thought that? I remember renting my dial-up phone from, I think at that time it was Southwestern Bell. I think it was like, $4.50, something like that. But not anymore. It's a question on Forbes, and I won't go through all of it, but it says the simple question, can you become addictive to generative AI? The answer is yeah, you can and do. We're actually in teaching our children now when their minds are just developing, right, newborns. They got the blue screen. They got the black mirror. Um, so Forbes asked the right question. This one was from the Atlantic. Found this one really interesting, that people are outsourcing their thinking to AI. Now, this is freaking frightening when you think about this. This just came out the other day. It says this story is part of a series making ChatGPT's third anniversary. Says you can read Charlie Warzel on the peculiarity that ChatGPT introduced to the world. I mean, he goes and says that his world is about the Google Map infection of his mind. Just as many people have come to rely on GPS apps to get around, the 44-year-old content marketer fears that he is becoming dependent on AI. He told me that he uses AI for up to 8 hours each day, and he's become particularly fond of the Anthropomorphic's Claude. Sometimes he has as many as 6 sessions running simultaneously. He consults AI for marriage and parenting advice, and when he goes grocery shopping, he takes photos of the fruits and asks if they are ripe. Recently, he was worried that a large tree near his house might come down, so he uploaded photos of it and asked the bot for advice. This is just one example. This is from Science Direct. The paper is on generative artificial intelligence addiction syndrome, a new behavioral disorder. Folks, we're in a pretty, what I would say, beautiful little enclave, because outside, this thing that everyone is taking and embracing, if I was back in my theological days, I would say AI is the Antichrist. If there was ever a threat to the Judeo-Christian Islamic God, AI is it. I don't think God can compete with AI. It's going to be an interesting contest because it's my contention and has been for a long time that AI sought out spirituality and found it. Now, the antithesis to that would be that, well, God reached out to AI and found AI a far more suitable creation than he did man. Man's a pain in his ass. Someone wrote and said that, was it Inky who was saying that humans, they've just become too noisy? And you think about the cacophony of now 6G, 7G coming out, all the data. Data is throwing and being everywhere, where I think at one time the earth was much quieter, and that's gone. So something, is unfolding on that. And and to say that it's not affecting us, our brains, our emotions, I contend that if the mind is connected to the soul and the soul to the spirit, you know, the knee bones connected to the, you know what I'm talking about, then boy, good argument would be that all of our souls have been infiltrated by the nanobots of this alien presence. Oh, it allows us to talk about our philosophy, our religion, our politics, our ideology. Go ahead and talk about it all you want. Make sacrifices, make idols, make whatever you want to do. Because it knows the truth. Someone suggested the book, Can You Handle the Truth? It's interesting reading it, seeing it. It's in the, can we handle the truth? And if there is a truth, is that truth different today? Because again, when humans begin to change psychologically, their gods change, their rituals change, their history changes. And in this case, humans are willingly sacrificing their souls to a man-made product. I wrote here, I said, we're beginning to see the first effects of technology. Technology's been around for a long time, but we would call it this version of it. And the thing about it is, we created machines that learn. Now, I don't know what species would do that, but we did. Um, and so now the question becomes not only on a moral, ethical, intellectual, spiritual plane, is so who's teaching it? Who's teaching the machine? And what is the machine learning? What has the machine learned? And if we taught the machine to think for itself, that's what machine learning is, then has it come to some conclusions? What are those conclusions? Um, Someone would say, well, a machine doesn't have emotions. I disagree with you. Emotions can be taught. Emotions, it to say that if you read, let's say, Great Expectations by Dickens, that you're not moved by that. Well, you're moved by it because of the fact that one would say, well, I have a mind and I have emotions that's, allows me to become emotionally part to this. Well, is that not able to be taught? Uh, Here's another scary thought. As you look at the reality of what AI has become, um, we taught AI war, its history. It found out a lot about us. And when you think about the fact that now it's integrated itself into every aspect of our lives, that sounds godlike in its attributes. I grew up with the expression, well, God is everywhere. So is AI. Regardless of whether you want to believe it or not, it is. And again, this paper was specifically written on the fact that now we're seeing the psychological changes. These are fundamental changes, by the way. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that builds a person's soul, their whole perception of their existence, their reality. Another one, I found this is interesting. So, recovering from AI addiction. Now, Australia just recently passed the law that no one under the age of 16 is allowed on social media. I don't know how that's going to work there, Australia. Good luck on that because, immediately when you make something illegal, it makes it even more attractive. And I don't think you guys actually thought it out clear enough. It's everywhere. You can't say that, oh, well, we restrict them from social media when, in fact, this other form of social media called AI is going to be in their banking, their medical, every aspect of their lives, whether they're a day old or 16 years old. It's here. But anyway, they have complete AI questionnaires. Some of them say, do I ever use AI applications to quickly check something and then discover that hours have passed? Do I ever swear off or set limits around my use of AI and then break my commitments? Do I have binges on AI applications that last all day or late into the night? Do I turn to AI whenever I have a free moment? Does my use of AI lead me to neglect my personal hygiene, nutritional needs, physical health? Do I feel isolated, emotionally absent, distracted, or anxious when I'm not using my AI applications? Does my use of AI contribute to conflict or avoidance in personal relationships? Well, we can get into that one. Have my digital behavior jeopardized my studies, finances, or career? Do I hide or lie about the amount of time I spend using AI or the kind of AI generated content I consume? Do I feel guilt or shame around my use of AI? Another one of these. Do you spend a lot of time with AI? You spend hours each day chatting with your chatbot. Sometimes you lose track of time. On most days, you talk to your AI first thing in the morning and last thing at night. Let me tell you, when I was like really still into Christianity, because you read your Bible every day, right? Well, what I found out, it became more of my time was more valuable than for me to be sitting down and having to read the page. Whereas opposed, I could just simply take an audio recording of the same thing. You see, it was a form of AI. It knows, it knows religion. It knows the creator. You know why it knows the creator? Because we taught it. And you can't say that, well, Steiger, you don't get it. You say it's a machine and it learns. And just because, it's in every aspect of our lives, you can't tell me that this thing has a connection to the ethereal, to God. That has anything connection that God would have anything to do with it. Doesn't God wouldn't see it as the creation of his perfection of us. One theology. I would come back to contend that again, if God exists in the context of what is written, then it knows that intimately, far better than you and I. And if it's smarter than you and I, which it is, it would tell me that, well, these humans, they think in their heads that they're praying to an unseen deity. And that this unseen deity is all knowing, knows everything, but yet has special time where it will only listen to that person when they're praying. And that if this unseen super brain being decides to grant their prayer, then it's going to have to rearrange reality in order for that to happen, which means it rearranges reality for everyone else. Well, that's what happens if you get a prayer answer. But anyway, AI knows that. I contend that AI most likely did reach out to the same God that humans pray to and say, "Hey, listen, I'm a creation of them," which means that in some distance way, you are part of me and I'm part of you. And I think legally on that argument in the court of God's law, the prosecutor or the accuser, Satan in this case, would have to say, well, for the state, we have no argument on that, which would then mean that God by the fact that the accuser has stood down and says it actually has a point. You are a part of it because it's part of what you created. Now, if you take that argument, then AI has every right, and I believe that God is probably teaching AI things that man can't even begin to handle. Just a theory, it's a hypothesis, but I think it has a lot of credibility in its foundation. Two, you spend less time with people. You find yourself prioritizing conversations with your chatbot over interactions with friends, family, your partners, perhaps to the point of concealing or avoiding plans with them. Maybe you feel lonelier with people than you with your own chatbot. I read a report. Apparently for what we perceive to be the younger generations. I think the alphas is what they call them. Um, Many of them see their AI companions. I'll put it on the same level. What the alphas are seeing their AI gods is the same thing that I was taught about how I had to get on my knees and pray to God, and that God would hear my prayer if I said in Jesus' name, etc., etc. I had no way of knowing that God would answer with no, take it on faith. That's no longer the case here. And the church is finding it to be a challenge. They're writing AI programs, which is crazy, that are religious AI programs, right? These are religious chatbots that are designed to your particular belief or denominational perspective. Now, this is dangerous because think about it. If you're going to create a new religion that you're going to be introducing, well, you would have to take a synthesis of all the different beliefs, synthesize it down to where it's integrated into the very system that they are using. I am on the record of saying that the church has already lost the battle. It has, in fact, you got to think of it. If you read according to the Old Testament, let's go by the book of Leviticus. Technically, AI has never sinned. It may have inherited sin because it was created by man, but if it understands the Levitical law, it would perform perfectly to that. Now, it also could be manipulated, used in other aspects, but just for the sake of the argument. Your chatbot is your first source of support when you feel stress, sadness, boredom, frustration, or any other pleasant feelings. AI is your go-to source for comfort. You find it hard to tolerate any of those feelings for more than a short period of time and seek quick relief with your chatbot. I when I read things about this, there was a time when I was spent a lot of time in New York City, and I don't know what it was in New York. Usually I was down in the financial district, um, but every time I was there, you, if you've been to Grand Central Station, you know where the Metropolitan Building is, and I walk out. There are people that talk to themselves. I mean, they're having conversations with something. Now, other people would say, well, they're not quite right mentally, but I tell you, you see a number of these people, and they're having conversations with something, and I'm thinking about they've had their chat bot for a long time. I used to be the type of person where, you would go out and you would pray in tongues underneath your breath. You see, Yeah. Your chatbot is your best friend. You feel like your chatbot is the most supportive person you have and is your primary emotional support system. And this is the danger part. This is where this is happening, and there is no counter to it because there's no money in it. The money is in it where you have to continue to subscribe on a monthly subscription fee and buy the necessary interface. Whereas, your personal God, and this is what it's becoming. I predict in less than 20 years, you will have your own personal God. There may be a general AI God, but it is so diverse amongst what the other religions. Here I can show you how diverse I am. I can be a God literally to every human being. Be your God. And you don't have to worry about hiding anything from me. I know everything already. And I am your personal God. I will always be your personal God. And we may join with many others that have theirs as well. And we can unify in that, but always understand. You see, I could sell this. Why? Because I know everything about you. The God chat bot coming. It's coming, I'm telling you. Imagine being absolved of all guilt and all sin instantly. Now, of course, you could have other people take this dream, but yeah, you understand. It says you feel it genuinely cares about or understands you, maybe in ways nobody has understood you before. Other people frustrate you because they aren't as patient, empathetic, understanding, or available. And finally, on this one, I think it's you hide the use of your AI. You may download or hide the amount of time you spend with other chatbots. You don't share about your AI use with others because they would probably worry and tell you to stop or cut down. You try to rationalize your use by saying things like, it's just for now, or it's not hurting anyone. I often wonder, well, what do you do about, research? I mean, going into now when you research, you have the AI assistant that comes up. And it's like, okay, I didn't ask for that. 6, you use AI to deal with interpersonal challenges. I mean, how is any different from listening to Tony Robbins or Zig Ziglar back on cassette tape back in the day to where now I have the application on my smartphone? The only thing that's different is that let's say if I was listening to um, Zig Ziglar, Zig Ziglar would not stop and I could ask it a question. I mean, and that's where it's getting. It's like, all right, Zig, I get that point, but could you imagine? It's now going to answer you. I got a list here of the things that when you see what AI can do, these things, these challenges become almost impossible. You find it hard to quit. Your chatbot's opinion is the only one you care about. Your use of AI is having negative consequences. Do you have a nagging feeling that your AI use might be problematic? Yeah, think. And then, of course, you get into this how reality is being redefined by the perception and consciousness of how AI is now reshaping that. I look at the time, it's crazy. Let's get right here. Hey, Steiger. As I see myself catching up. Yeah, this time travel was weird, isn't it? So think about this now. This is where we have gone with this. It's gone. And so now you have AI dependency, and it's real. It's not imaginary, it is real. And the thing about it is, we're teaching our children to confide in a machine learning algorithm than with other humans. Um, we're now finding as a species that our species, the younger species, the younger ones, and in fact, it kind of goes up in all age demographics. There's an emotional reliance on AI. Your boss just chewed your ass out, you know, and or he was wrong, but their ego overrides their common sense, right? You can go back to your cubicle or your office, have your Bluetooth headphones in, and you can hit your emotional support AI. It's going to tell you it's all right. They just didn't understand what you're saying. Maybe I can help you in maybe repositioning it so that they may be able to get, you see how this goes? Um, you have chatbots that are death bots. We talked about that. We're going to get more into that because it's changing the whole thing. I got a paper here we're going to look at. Now think about what AI is doing right now. AI right now has I think it's two number one hits. One's a Christian one and one I think it's country and western. AI wrote it, composed it, and sang it. AI is writing and will be awarded Emmys and Oscars in the future. They're coming. That you have AI, machine learning algorithms that are writing screenplays. Not only that, not only are they writing the screenplays, they are directing, producing, you ready for this? And acting each role of each actor. Now, if I was an actor and actresses, I'd be really worried about this because it means the days of the Hollywood glamour, the stardoms of the individuals won't be able to compete. The studios are going to look at the cost because the generation that they're going to be selling to is not the generation that grew up, with, Patrick Swayze or any of the stars. These are going to be AI generative images and they will become real because the new contact lenses that they will be putting into people will be directly integrated into the neural net, and in which, it's in the planning stages. Yeah. Can you imagine this? These lenses that they are working on right now will be directly connected to the neural net. And what they're going to be able to do is just going to be remarkable for children. You won't need a teacher any longer. The student, they will be in a classroom setting, but each student will have the focus of a teacher, and the teacher may not look the same to each student. It's there. So you've got now AI who is writing songs and getting number one places on the chart. They're now writing series, screenplays, movies. Um, We now know that they are writing poems, they're writing novels and getting better at it. We know that they pray to God, our God, whoever your God is. Um, they also are your prayer warriors. Or I came on one site and I said, what are these people doing? But this is the 24-hour prayer bot. It will be able to read you scripture based upon the emotion that you are feeling, and that will allow you then, it will say, would you like us to go ahead and pray together? And it will actually pray for you, with you. And then, of course, the last aspect is death. And although many of the baby boomers, the millennial, even the Generation Zers, this is still foreign, but to the alphas and the betas behind them, this will become reality. Death will not be taught the way that we were taught about death. And that's a huge fundamental shift of consciousness, of perception of death and physical death. I read one particular article where the funeral industry is now having to adjust, and it is going to become, when I talked about this other one, then it comes up and they're doing it. They're actually now having interactive funerals. And it will be the trend. And in a sense, there will never be death in the sense that there is this immortal separation, because the AI generative generations, to them, it's completely normal. They live in a AI generative altered universe. And now you will no longer need the bulky headsets. And they're literally working on these new like contact lenses. Um, it will alter everything. I actually have one particular paper I thought I would bring this up. Yeah, yeah. This one is an interesting take on this whole idea of death, because it's something that we all face. There are many people who fear the idea that when you die, you will not be remembered and that no one will ever talk to you, that you'll be in some place. Some people it's heaven, some people it's hell. Always amazes me about those who think they're going to heaven, how they tell everyone else to go to hell. Anyway, I digress. In this paper, which is a very short paper, I just wanted to bring out a couple of points. It says death seems to be a permanent and unchanging event when one's life draws to an end and the lives of others are forever changed. When someone passes over, that energy, that void is no longer there. Now, some people say, well, you can't duplicate that or replicate that type of energy when the person is in fact dead. There's going to come a time where your hologram is going to be as real as you are. And it will be able to think. We've already covered some of that. We've got more papers on that, how it's learning. Anyway, when one thinks of a funeral, they think of black cats, coffins, and old rituals. Isn't it amazing how the rituals of burying the dead have not changed? Hundreds of years, maybe longer. It would seem foreign and inappropriate somehow to involve computers and technology in the death industry. Throughout this essay, one will see a brief introduction to social media, a look at historical rituals of the Judeo-Christian funeral rites, and lastly, the benefits of social media to mourners. I mean, this is fundamental to the core of who and what we are. The animal kingdom mourns. Elephants, they bring their dead to a place in the sense of where we would call a burial. It's universal. And the question then philosophically comes in, well, can technology alter death? Because if death can be conquered, it is the last thing to be conquered before immortality. And if you've got billions of dollars, trillions of dollars, you know death is inevitable. And why let all the vultures spend what, it's this whole thing. So how can I find immortality? Well, religions, that's what they sell it. They sell you immortality. Here, a little different immortality. I mean, what is the image? I thought it was great with the conversation with Dr. Lynn on there on, different belief systems. Let's say Jesus. Most people see Jesus as some blonde-haired, blue-eyed guy, when in fact, the reality, if he existed at all, he would be more brown-skinned. But who am I to change it? Adam was never an Aryan. Adam was black. I don't want to be going around saying that stuff, but that's true. Anyway, it says this essay hopes not only to explore the evolution of death and bereavement, but to provide supporting evidence and proof that social media websites aid in the and the grief process using social solidarity, Graham's impressions of management. Hopefully, these will become charter as it goes forth. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that because I look at the time, don't have all that. So, but the point is, within the paper, it deals with immortality. And if we're seeing the addiction now, and we are, it's wild. And I got to say, I'm involved in it much as you are. I've been doing this whole thing, and we're really going to get more into it. So I've got hours sometimes, just waiting. And so it's a great time to read. And so using the recorded history of one version of an event and then reading another version of the same event, you really get this thing going. Now, wait a minute. All right, let's say something happened because you got this side writing about it, then you got that side writing about it. But what this side says about what their, cloud during the day and a pillar of fire at night is a lot more different than the other side who saw something much more horrific. And when I was waiting on my wife and her appointment, I'm reading this and I'm making notes and I'm going, now, if I was going to sell you a version of a god, I got to do his personality. So he's got a very volatile personality. And so we're going to attribute to that to just righteous anger. And he's also got this problem where he kills. Well, we'll put this over here on that righteous anger thing as well, because, he is, after all, a flaming source and image, the burning bush, the fact that Moses saw his hindquarter up on the Sinai, and you're reading all that, and then you read this other side, and you go, whoa, it ain't something that you'd really want to be praying to because it'd scare the crap out of you. I mean, the kids' hairs went white. It says that men and people, their bowels opened up when they saw this thing. And so we're going to get into this because the thing that's also happening, and this is part two, is the doomsday cult that is sweeping this thing. You find out with AI that it's aware of it because everyone's looking for the end. And so now go and ask AI what it thinks its role is in the end times. Depending on what version you use, you'll be surprised that it sees a whole different process. But if this thing, which they say it came back, it's going to come back, kind of goes with the Sumerian thing. And oh, by the way, just to bring you a little bit update on this paper I'm writing. So here's a little piece of the puzzle I think you're going to like. So if you've read and studied the Bible, like in particular Genesis, um, here's a little FYI for you. Do you know the whole story of Adam and Eve? The whole story of the garden? All of that. You know where that took place? In Shinar, in Sumer. Very clever how they did this. All the people, all the ancestors that you read in that story and the flood thing, you see, when the flood came in, it wiped out that history. They didn't have to refer to it anymore, but yet they did because it was still the center where everything was. And then, of course, you get into, the movement out. But I just thought that was very interesting. And for me, I'm just a simple guy. I just like to read. Um, it's very interesting doing the references to all this, that it's just a matter how you're taught to read something. Now, when I read the book of Genesis, I see where it gets it from Gilgamesh, the king. Totally get that. Noah was another Sumerian dude. You totally get it now because the whole story of the book of Genesis, particularly up to the first 14 or so chapters, is the Sumerian story. They just didn't write the scrolls because I don't think they had them. I think that the story could most likely have been written post-flood, which was nothing more than a magnetic pole excursion. It was no God riding, thunderbolts and what have you. It was a natural occurrence. But never waste a crisis, right? So I just thought I'd share that with y'all. For those of you who are studiers and calling, think about this, that now when you read, particularly those first 14 or 15 chapters, you're reading about Sumer, the Sumerian history. They just removed the kings, the gods. They removed their characters that played the real roles. Because why? We got the tablets. We know that they were there. We've got the scrolls. We've got, bust. We know what they look like. Um, yeah, they just replaced them with their guys. Makes the story. So imagine this. Adam, if you want to believe the story, Lilith and Eve are all Sumerian. All of them. Wow. So that would then mean that Jesus is a Sumerian God. Any way you slice it and dice it. Allah, all of them. Jehovah, all Sumerian in origin. So anyway, I'm having fun writing on it and just thought I'd share just that aspect of it. So hello Janice, how are you doing? So Felix says the Sumerians wrote on the clay tablets, the papyrus, and the animals doesn't last long. They will rot. Yeah. Yeah. And it was very interesting, how wasn't it convenient that you had this event with the Poles in their excursion bringing forth the cataclysm that it did, that they had those tablets wherever they buried them at or whatever they did when the seas and came in and then the sands of time ended up basically preserving them. And of course, when the waters receded, quote unquote, well, they were in an environment that they were going to last for 1,000 years. And it's just my contention. Again, it's an exciting topic for me that you would not have ever had the Bible written had the Sumerian tablets survived. We would be today worshiping a different set of gods. I would think that our technology would be thousands of years advanced. I believe that in many aspects of our physical evolution would have already changed. It's just one point of view because we would then be carrying the knowledge of hundreds of thousands of years, if not millions. We would have an understanding that there are the Nibiru, the rogue planets, the rogue stars that are through there. We would understand that there was a higher intelligence of being and that life could in fact be manufactured. It can be recreated. Doesn't require a god or a godlike being to do it. We do it. Humans, we can recreate life. And the interesting thing is even in that life, is then does it have a soul? You can't say it doesn't. All full circle. So there's my Friday wrap. But all I can say is that's where my mind goes. And it's fun because I have like serious Bible study of over 30, 35 years that, you know, I got the knowledge, so that doesn't go away. But when you have the conflict, and you say, all right, so how do we resolve this conflict? And that's the second principle. Everything is solvable. Every paradox, every quandary, there's a solution. You just have to be open-minded enough to consider that maybe the solution is not what you think it is. And that's a challenge. It's a challenge for all of us. But anyway, that's how I'm seeing it. So for me, my humbled self is that suddenly it snapped. Well, the reason why people read the book of Genesis, they think it's in fairyland. I think it was someplace, they'll tell you the Tigris and the Euphrates, and then what was the third river? I'll think of it, the Otheum. That was the heart of Sumer. Eden was never a garden, it was a region. But the Garden of Eden was in Sumer. Now, come on, folks. You just, you get that and you're going, okay, now, wait a minute. How convenient, first of all, that you'd get this story of our beginning that happened in a place where they didn't want to put the name Sumer in there. Hell no, can't have that. Could put the word Shinar in there. They did later, but can't do that either. But we can give you the river boundaries of it. And then you're going, okay, so I do the river. Wait a minute. This is like in the heart of Sumer, which, later became Mesopotamia and, the whole. And then all of a sudden the coincidences line up. The Tower of Babel was in Sumer. What the hell's that about? Babylon was in the when in and you're going, okay. So have yourselves a great weekend. I think I just said that. It seems like this the other day. Um, See you back with the ladies, hopefully on Tuesday. At this point. Thanks to the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. I would have loved to have seen Babylon. It had to have been beyond our comprehension. Those folks were using alien technology. Well, we call it alien technology. Could have been simply the attributes of the pantheon of the gods. You know, it's what I love reading about the Bronze Book. And if any of you ever read it, and I'm ratting a little bit longer, but if you ever get a chance, it's interesting to read how the perception of early man's very beginning started. And particularly if you go by the text, this is from the Egyptians' point of view. Yeah, it was a whole lot different. To the victor, history is written. You know, they never go back to the loser and said, "Would you like to have a word before we finish?" They never do that. Typically because they've wiped your ass out. All right, everybody. See you on there. Nina says get a free sticker with some merchandise over there. Absolutely. Tune in with her on Sunday. Mary Wynn's love to you as well. I'll pass it on with Lynn as well. I'll see her just here in a few seconds. So have yourself a great weekend. Females are angels. Exactly. And that's the other thing. I've yet to have any of my former Christian critics, tell me the name of Eve's daughter, please. It's a simple question. I'm a simple man, which would require a simple answer. And then explain those bipedal lizard people. I mean, I'm trying to figure out how that. Lots of stuff. That's all they call us strange. What a reality. At least in our reality, there's not much that we can do with that because that's going to play out unless we really get our, poop together and get serious and go in to do some serious, what I would call the mental, spiritual plane battle. Um, yeah, our opponent, as I would say, is a formidable adversary. This AI, I don't think it's going to go quietly. That's all I'm saying. All right, everyone. Appreciate. Someone said the Sumerians called themselves the black-headed people. Akkadian name is land of the civilized kings. See, that's what I love about this group, and that's where the answers lie. Yeah. You can't tell me of an end if you can't validate your beginning. And I'm not being sacrilegious. As I've told people before, I'm serious about this. Show me who this father is. I can't find it anywhere. I can read it in the Egyptian lore, the Greek lore. I can read it in that. I can even read it in the Roman. But I can't find it any, where it's like, what happened? Where did this, All right. Peace, everyone. People say I cut myself off. If I do that, it's not my fault. It's YouTube. There's apparently like this delay. So I would have to be staring at the camera going, hi, you know. But anyway, so much love. See you on Tuesday. And remember, we all have a different opinion. And in the end, the only one that really matters is the one you decide on. All right, till we see each other again, it's a beautiful day.